people look at their traffic numbers to identify how well their website's going, they're looking at the wrong metric.
I'd be tracking 1 or 2 key conversions of my website, depending on what it is that my website is doing.
If you want to really improve your website, it's not about just ramping up traffic. Welcome to another session with the Selenites. Today we are going to discuss how to track the effectiveness of your website. And who I've got with me today is Matthew McDonald, our website project manager, who literally works with all of our clients when it comes to anything to do with websites. And not just in terms of the builds, but when clients come and say, we want to increase traffic, or we want to increase sales, or we want to increase this. He's the actual man that understands what needs to be looked at and what needs to be fixed or adjusted to achieve those outcomes. So thank you, Matt, for making the time this afternoon.
Yeah, no
and
problem.
being with us. I am going I'm going to dive straight in, because the biggest problem with measuring and analytics and things like that is that a lot of agencies and I guess data specialists, they'll throw around a whole heap of terms, KPIs, this conversion, that click-through rate, this dwell time, or whatever. You know the terms. Now, the question I've got, if someone's listening to this right now and they want to improve the website, what are the 2 to 3 kind of metrics that they should be paying attention to?
I guess it depends on what you have available to you with actually measuring it. But in the age of AI, a lot of things have shifted.
Yeah.
A lot of metrics now around traffic are probably not as important as they used to be.
Right.
But generally what I would be looking at as far as metrics, I'd be tracking 1 or 2 key conversions of my website, depending on what it is that my website is doing, whether it's, if it's an e-commerce website, obviously you'd be tracking sales and figures and that sort of stuff. I think that's a good one. If it's a service-based business, I'd be checking inquiry forms and phone clicks or phone inquiries or however you're tracking that sort of stuff. The other one that I think is becoming more and more important for so many things, and really just to know whether your website's connecting with your audience, is engagement time.
How long do they actually spend on the site?
So, which you can measure in a few different ways, like either the engagement time on a page, or the bounce rate, or the click-through rate, or the there's even tools now that you can see where they're actually paying it, where they're spending time on your page.
Great, that's awesome.
And things like that. But really being able to grab the attention of your audience is probably the biggest one. If you can do that effectively with the content on your website, then you get so much more opportunity to make everything else work.
And you know what? That just boils down to good marketing.
Yeah, 100%.
It's always been. Like back in the day when we used to run offline ads, so before the internet really kind of took off, and a lot of our clients were still doing yellow pages or or newspaper ads or industry mags. It's all about how well can you grab their attention and make them read the message that you've actually got. So not much has changed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very much the same. And it's obviously the balance to it is trying to do it while still giving the value in the content without it sounding like marketing, or without it sounding like SEO or things like that. Because there's a lot of websites that we're coming across now tend to be websites that have had some investment in SEO in the past. May have done really well and have sort of skated along for a couple of years now, and are now starting to need a little bit more work to get them back to where they were. And a lot of them have that more traditional SEO type content on there. That, sort of is a little bit more
written
of a word
for
salad.
Search engines,
rather
than your target market.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's there is a swing in that, which is cool. But it's funny that you mentioned SEO, because earlier on you said, traffic kind of it is a metric that you still want to look at, but for the majority, there isn't really much you can do about your website to increase traffic. SEO is really the only thing, because those two are correlated, and how your website is optimized and things like that will determine how well you rank organically. But every other traffic source, and I don't think I'm missing anything, but every other traffic source really doesn't rely on your website so much. It's how much you pay, how much time you spend on these other avenues, how much you are in the marketplace for branding or whatever.
Yeah.
That's going to determine that. So I think that's really important.
Yep.
If people look at their traffic numbers to identify how well their website's going, they're looking at the wrong metric.
Yeah, without a doubt. Even with SEO, I think sometimes it can be a key part in the metrics that you're looking at. But if it's just something that you're solely basing the success of your marketing or the success of your website off, then it's not telling you the whole picture.
Yeah, that's good.
We can easily go and get 2x, 3x, 4x the volume of traffic to a website.
That's what I mean.
It just may not be
The
customers.
right traffic.
Yeah, it
Correct.
may not be potential customers for you.
So that's good. I think that's a great takeaway. If you want to really improve your website, it's not about just ramping up traffic. That's not what you want to look at. You want to look at the other factors that you just talked about: dwell time, conversion rates, and sales.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
1,000 visitors that are actually looking for your product have more value to you than 1 million visitors that aren't.
Correct.
So
correct. That's great. Okay, well, let's stay on that really quickly. Let's say you've got a ton of traffic coming to your website. You're not getting any opt-ins. You're not getting any phone calls. You're not getting any inquiries. The e-commerce site's just not converting into sales.
Yep.
What are some of the things that you would walk through with a client to kind of like, okay, where are these sticking points? What do you look at?
I'd probably start with reviewing the website manually. Obviously, with the experience that we have, there's a lot of things that we can take away from just having a look at a website. But some of the metrics that I would look at would be things like page bounce rates, the engagement time, like we were talking about, whether people are actually engaging with the website once they're finding it, no matter which page they're coming in on.
Yeah.
Really helpful sort of tools are things like Hotjar and page recording tools to see essentially where you're losing people. Because if you're getting a heap of traffic and you're not getting anything from it, generally there's going to be patterns of where they're falling off. It's the worst case scenario is they're landing on your site and they're bouncing straight away without even looking at the content, which just means you've got to work above the fold. You've got to get some better pictures done. You've got to work on your headlines and your titles and all that
Grabbing
sort of stuff.
attention.
Letting them know, maybe sometimes your headline is not as direct as it needs to be, letting them know what you do and who you do it for.
The basic of a sales message. Here's who I am. Here's what I've got for you. Here's what I want you to do next.
Exactly. And a lot of times it can be sometimes trying to get too clever with that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Rather than just direct. But yeah, they would be the metrics I'd look at first. I'd have a look at what pages people are coming in on from Google or paid ads or wherever they're coming to the site. Having a look at what pages they're landing on, what pages they're exiting on, if they're getting to other pages, if we're getting some click through to other pages, and just having a look at where they're bouncing, why they're bouncing, what sort of content is on the pages that they're bouncing off from. And starting to put a picture together like that.
All right. Well, bounce rate used to be like the industry metric, but you've also mentioned dwell time. If you had to choose bounce rate or dwell time, which metric would you look at?
The one I would look at first is your dwell time, your engagement time.
Yeah.
Providing that has enough there for you to start working with. That'd be the one I'd pay more attention to. If the engagement time is really low, like sub 4 or 5 seconds, then I'd start looking at bounce rate because your engagement, you already know you're not getting the engagement.
Yeah.
Now it's about having a look at where they're bouncing off the site and where they're leaving for. Generally, it's all going to point back to the content, no matter what you sort of end up finding out from that perspective, if the engagement's low already. But finding out which content needs work first would be a good place to start.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's switch gears. Page speed. Okay, so how important is page speed these days? And I know we can use tools like the Google Page Speed Tester to improve page speed. But let's say we want to increase page speed by 10 points. How much does that impact the actual how well your website's performing, in your opinion?
Not a lot anymore. It's a matter of diminishing returns, I think.
Right.
As long as your website is not loading painfully slow, which if it's loading slow enough for it to create you some anxiety or frustration while it's loading, then you're already so far off the chart with any score that you're going to get for the page that it's not even funny. But generally these days, with the speed that we all have at our connection, whether it's how fast the home internet connections have gotten, or the fact that nearly everyone's on 5G now, and things like that, plus everything that makes part of this work, like from your web hosting to the internet service provider on the mobile devices side or the end user side, everything is now using some form of tool or optimization to make that page load faster.
Right. Yeah.
Whether it's server-side caching or if it's local caching on your device or whatever it might be.
Dropping the scripts to the bottom rather than the header.
Lazy loading, which is basically just loading what you're going to see on the screen and not anything off it until later. All these different tools that get used. Generally now, even if you're scoring a 70 or 80 in a page speed score, that's probably, providing the website is done well and the content's good and the conversion elements are all there, a page that has a speed score of 70 to 80 is usually going to convert just as well as something in the mid to high 90s.
Yeah. And I'll add to this. I think small business owners that have, I don't know, maybe 1,000 visitors a month for their website. Like we work with a lot of small business owners that make a lot of money for these clients, but they're not even getting 1,000 visitors a month.
Yeah.
So in that realm, I don't think page speed really matters that much.
Absolutely.
Now,
not,
if you're operating at a different level and you're spending 50K plus a month on ads, I think page speed will kind of impact what that investment's going to bring you, because if you're bringing sending that kind of traffic to your site, your server's going to be under load and things like that. So you want to look at these things to make sure that the page speed is actually as fast as it can be with the traffic that the site and the server needs to endure. Yeah,
absolutely. And a lot of times too, it may not even be, I guess, putting it under the umbrella of page load or page speed and all that sort of stuff is technically correct. Like, if you're getting large volumes of traffic and you want to reduce the load on the server and all that sort of stuff, then you can reduce the load by optimizing how that page loads. It still may not revolve around how fast it loads. It may just revolve around how it loads or what it loads or how it treats different things from its CSS to all that sort of stuff. It may not necessarily load or feel any faster from an end user perspective, but there could be advantage in optimizing the way that happens.
Yeah.
But like I said, even now for a vast majority of websites, no matter where they score, even if it's sometimes as low as in the 50s or 60s through to high 90s, for a lot of websites that have been built in the last couple of years, just because of the way that more modern builders work, they're all loading in sub 1.5, 2 seconds anyway.
Yeah.
Like by the time it feels like it's loading virtually instantly.
Yeah.
No matter where it's scoring. A lot of the times when it's getting a low score, it's because there's one picture somewhere further down the page that's just way too big for what it needs to be. Yep. Or they've customized something within a pre-bought template and done it with someone on Fiverr, and it hasn't been done the best, so it's giving you a low score because of the way that some custom code's been added, or maybe it's got a whole heap of scripts for things where people have added 5 or 6 different tracking tools and analytics and all that sort of stuff. But a lot of it is not actually stuff that's, when you're sitting there, you're waiting for it to load, going, this is taking 4, 5, 6 seconds. It just doesn't happen very often anymore. Normally when that happens, it's more often than not these days, it'll be a server issue.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. The just changing the hosting account sometimes improves website speed dramatically. So we'll finish and move on. But I think for a lot of people watching this, just focusing on page speed is probably going to give you diminishing returns.
Yeah, without a doubt.
We want to focus on the other things that we talked about earlier on: your dwell time, your conversion rates, and how much money you're making. Those are 3 real good metrics to focus on. So leading into that, GA4 can be like, if you just let it run wild, you put GA4 on your website, let it run wild, it'll give you all types of reports. It'll set up all types of conversion goals, events, or whatever else it wants to do. In your opinion, if someone's overwhelmed with their GA4 setup, What are some of the things that they should focus in on that are actually going to bring clarity how their website's running?
Yep. So I guess with GA4, it's a really good tool. Obviously, it's very powerful for what it does. It doesn't work out of the box on every website.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it may not be accurate for a whole lot of things. Just by adding the script to the website. It's going to come up and tell you, here's some conversions and here's some things that it's auto detecting, whether it's, form submissions or whatever it is. And sometimes it may not even be a form submission. It could be a button click that it thinks is a form.
Yeah, it just clicks and it says it's an event.
Yep. So generally it's going to be overwhelming for a lot of people that have little experience with analytics in general. The things I would say to pay attention to would be the same sort of things we said around, depending on what the website is or what the business is trying to do with its website, looking at the key conversion points, looking at the engagement time, looking at all that stuff, but maybe focusing or even engaging some marketing specialists to help you set up the analytics in a way that just lets you see the things that you need to see.
Yep.
Set up some custom reports, set up some custom events or conversions that you're tracking and things like that, so that you can just go in, open up your report, see the data that you want to see over a date range that you want to view it over, and not have to worry about all the other stuff that's in there. Cool.
So for you, what are the most important things that you would set up a conversion goal or an event for?
Again, it depends on the website, but so
for local businesses,
it'd be things like phone clicks and phone calls, depending on how they're tracking the phone calls. Because obviously, one thing that we like to do is take phone tracking to the next level by tracking the phone calls and recording them and having all that sort of data.
Awesome.
But you can just track it to the point where you're just tracking the click on the phone number.
Yep.
Tracking how many emails, if you're using emails for your contact forms and things like that, or an email link, tracking how many times that's clicked, tracking form submissions.
Yep.
And all the things that are basically your customer engaging with you. If you don't have like a service or a product to buy on your site that gives you a really sort of direct idea of how well your website's converting, just tracking all the things that are your client or your customer contacting you. Really.
And here's a funny thing, okay? So we work with a range of clients. Like, we'll work with people that are just starting out. We'll work with business owners that have been doing this for 10, 15, sometimes even 20 years, and even some corporates. But at every level of client that we've worked with, not all of them, but there will be some we come across, and even if they just knew their traffic numbers, the conversion points like that you said, and then manually say, and I made this much money from those leads this month, there is still people in those categories that don't even do the basics like that.
Yeah, 100%.
It's
a lot. It's unfortunately, it's a lot.
We've worked with corporates with like 20, 30, 40 grand marketing budgets, and they still don't have those numbers dialed in.
Yeah.
So I think the basic thing that anyone can do is set up your analytics. Then you know how many people are coming to your website.
Yep.
Set up what, like you said, either your conversion goals for a phone click. If you don't have the advanced software, we'll talk about advanced software in a moment.
Yep.
But if you don't have that, so for a phone click or a form submission. And then you can feed back in data if you have e-commerce, like for actual sales.
Yep.
But if you don't have that, if you're a local business, just work out how many of these clients that came through here. So you have to talk to your clients and say, how did you find us? Then you can attribute it back to your website. Then you say, okay, I've made this much money. Okay, I've spent this much. I've made this much.
Yep.
My website's working really well.
Yep.
But the other thing you can do then is, okay, if I spend more, I'll probably make more. And obviously that comes, you got to work, that's when you start getting into conversion rate optimization and stuff, and that's not always true. But at the simplest level, you can spend more. Or now I see, there's a sticking point on my website, I can work on that. At least you know if you've got a traffic problem, a conversion problem, or a sales problem.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool.
Even like talking about that same sort of frustration that we have with sometimes clients not knowing that information, even a lot of them not knowing what an average sale to them is worth or what an average lifetime value of a customer is worth. So they don't even know how much they can be spending to get these clients.
Correct, yeah.
But, yeah.
So, but that's some basic stuff that lets you understand how well your website's tracking.
Yeah.
That's really good. Okay, let's go a little bit more advanced then. You talked about heat maps earlier on. What's some software we use for that? Let's talk about some phone tracking software that we've used in the past, and then maybe a little bit more complex e-com setup to track sales and things like that.
Yeah.
Let's start with the heat tracking software. What's some of the stuff we've used?
Cool. One we've used, it has actually changed name recently, and I'm not 100% sure on what it's actually changed to. It was called Hotjar.
Oh, yeah, Hotjar, yep.
It has, it merged with another company, and it's called something else now.
Let me look it up. Let's see what this is called, but you keep going.
So Hotjar's a really good one. Hotjar allows you to literally take screenshots of your page and overlay heat maps on it. So rather than just getting a rough idea of what sort of content or where people are dropping out on the page or what they're looking at, you can literally watch live recordings of people that have come to your site, watch where their mouse has moved, what they've clicked on, where their screen stopped, what they were looking at and reading, what button they've clicked to go to another page, or what button they've clicked to leave your website, all that sort of stuff.
It's called Content Square.
That's it.
That's what it's changed to.
Yeah, that is it. Yep.
Good times.
Makes sense now, and that does remind me. But yeah, so it has a lot of really powerful tools. So the heat jar and the heat mapping is just one of them that you can use. You can also map user journeys and flows to actually, like it'll create maps that show you like a flow map of where here's the page that you want to track people coming in from. So everyone that's coming to your homepage, and it'll actually show you like how many of them click through to every other page on your site, and a little flow map and things like that. So that's a really cool tool.
And just if you're watching this, like, man, that's really advanced. All this is really is we talked about 3 conversion points earlier on. So your traffic, how many people convert into an inquiry, and then how many people turn into a customer. Once you've kind of like identified which one's a problem, that's when you go to this level. So if it's a conversion problem, now you work out, okay, what happens between traffic hitting the site and this conversion path? And that's where Hotjar comes in, or content.
Yep, absolutely.
Content Square.
Other really cool tools for more specifically tracking certain events and things like that. Like we talked about the phone one, where if the issue might be more around the sales side of things, so they're getting to your site and they're making that inquiry, but the sale's not happening, or you're getting a lot of leads and not a lot of actual conversions and things like that. You can bring things in like specific phone tracking. So it will not only do some really cool stuff where it will like swap numbers out, so if the customers you're getting are coming from organic stuff like SEO or paid stuff like ads and all that sort of thing, it'll also track those phone calls and literally allow you to go back and listen to the recordings if it's you, or even if it's a sales team, to start maybe optimizing the script or the language that you're using. And stuff like that. So that can be really cool from a sales perspective.
And we're getting a little bit away from actual making your website convert, because now we're talking sales. But your website grabs all this information. If you're recording, this is a magic trick. Like if you're recording all of your calls, you feed them into AI and you let AI tell you, where are the mistakes? How can I better make this into a sales script? Like, you don't need to be an expert anymore to do this stuff, but you need someone like us to set it up for you so you actually have all this data.
Yeah, correct. And it still comes directly back to getting your website to convert. Having this sort of information around if your business is primarily set up to try and get people to pick up the phone and call you, then something like this is directly speaking to your conversions. It can even help you from something as simple as like optimizing where the button is to make a phone call, what the language should be around the button, whether you're just putting your phone number in it or telling them, call us with an exclamation point, or if it should be a banner that's a call to, all of that sort of stuff. You can test it all and track it all and do all that sort of stuff.
And this is usually, doing this kind of stuff is what makes a profitable promotion pop. Because I always tell our clients, like, look, we've built a bunch of websites. We've built a bunch of sites that are working really well. I'll give you everything that we know out of the box that converts. Where to put your phone button, the type of headline, kind of call to actions, your testimonials, all the things that you need on a site. But if you want to be different to your competition, especially in the age of AI, to set yourself apart, this is the information that will do that. Being specific to your clientele, understanding their language, what they want to hear, and then putting that on the website rather than saying the same thing that everyone else is saying.
Yeah, correct. And sometimes there's a reason that everyone else is saying the same thing. Like, it depends on what it is. Sometimes there's a reason that everyone says something a
What the
particular
market
way.
responds to.
Yeah, it might be what works. But other times, it doesn't mean that it's always the best way to say it, I guess, is what I was going to try and get as a point to there. But yeah, as far as other tools go, there's plenty of advanced tools out there.
Yeah, Microsoft Clarity, we've used that, similar to Hotjar.
Yep. The Microsoft Clarity is very similar to Hotjar, but it has more analytics type information that is a part of it as well. You could, if you were going to go down the path of using something like Clarity, you could probably use that in place of GA4.
Right.
And Hotjar. It won't give you analytics quite as in-depth as GA4 will, but it will give you enough information for most people to get what they need from their website.
Yeah. One other thing is, and it's still website related, but more down the SEO path, is your search console. Because you can see how many people have seen your website and how many people have actually clicked on it.
Yep.
So that kind of information you don't actually get from Google Analytics because it's a step before they actually get to your website.
And what they're seeing to click on it. What they're searching, what searches you're showing up for and is working for you and all that sort of, it can be really useful for that sort of stuff. That's definitely a tool that could be useful if you're not getting the traffic at all.
Yeah, maybe you're ranking in the first couple of results, but you're not getting that click.
Yep.
So you got massive impression share, but no actual clicks. So
or maybe you're ranking for things that just aren't relevant for what you're trying to sell. Maybe you don't even realize that the content is being understood in a way that you didn't intend by Google. And it's putting you in search results for things that you're not going to get any value from, and that'll give you a really good idea of why or what content needs to change and why you need to change it, and all that sort of stuff. That sometimes that might be something that if that's what you've worked out, it might be a really good time to have a chat to a SEO specialist agency.
Do it right.
Yeah, do it right rather than I guess. Get it wrong again.
Yeah.
Because it's the kind of thing that generally getting it wrong a couple of times can make it really hard to recover that domain sometimes.
Correct. It's we won't go that deep, but everything's documented.
Yeah.
Every change. Anyway, but here's one for everyone. So give me some horror stories, but also it'll help people kind of understand if something dramatically is wrong. What's a big red flag if you go into someone's analytics account? What would be a big red flag that you're like, hey, something's up here?
I guess it's dependent on the website. Having something with really erratic numbers is sometimes a bit of a giveaway that things aren't set up or installed properly, tracking correctly.
Yep.
A really common one that I guess it's pretty obvious to everyone, but more often than you would think, we jump into someone's analytics that's come to us either from another agency or doing their own marketing, and the GA4 doesn't have any data collected. It hasn't been installed properly at all, or it hasn't been set up correctly at all, and it's literally getting no data fed to it.
Okay, that's a big red flag.
Yeah, so there's things as obvious as that, through to what might scream a red flag on one site might be okay on another. If we jumped into analytics for a site that gets quite a lot of traffic and it was looking like there'd been a massive drop-off recently, then that's going to be a flag.
Yep.
If we are looking at a site that might only get 50 visitors a week and it looks like it's had a massive drop-off because it's got 25 visitors this week, not so much of a big red flag. It might just be a seasonal thing.
Yeah. I can give you one. So one of the red flags that I've seen in the past is where we've gone in and the site seemingly seems to do okay, but then you look at the traffic source and it's all paid traffic. So you're like, this site's been live for months now and still not a single organic visitor. Yep. And you look at the site and it's got no index on the site. So Google hasn't even indexed the site because someone forgot to remove the tag.
Yep.
Like that's happened before.
Yep.
And the client's wondering, why am I not getting any organic traffic? It's like, well, the people that sent your site live didn't actually get rid of the no index tag.
Yep.
So
that's
probably a big one.
That'd be a really specific one. I think that sort of still falls under the like jumping in and seeing that it's not getting any data.
Yeah.
Even if it is getting some from paid. when looking at that as a overall thing with GA4, it's still going to look like it's not getting any data. Really.
So that's good. So don't just look at your overall traffic, look at the channels.
Yep.
I think that's a good one. Yeah, the other one that that sometimes, I don't know if it shows up in analytics, if your site's hacked. I know it does in Search Console.
Yeah, it won't show up in analytics specifically. There is generally ways to tell you if you jumped into analytics and the vast majority of your traffic is coming from overseas, and generally tends to be coming from countries that you're probably not having any intention of selling to or marketing to or providing services to. So, for instance, if you jumped in and 95% of your traffic for the last month had all come from somewhere like the Philippines or Russia,
you got a problem.
Pretty
so look
good
at the
chance.
source of your traffic. That's great. And that's just a really cool thing to check too. Let's say you're working with a performance agency saying, okay, we're going to send you this much traffic. Okay, well, where's this traffic coming from?
Yes. Yeah.
Is it actually from my people that are going to buy?
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, so I want to talk about attribution really quickly because we're in an age now where it's possible to attribute properly. Now, to kind of frame this, someone can come and find your business in various ways. So one of the things that happens a lot is that with our clients is they'll see a Facebook ad. They may not respond to the Facebook ad, but they're in the market for what you're talking about.
Yep.
Then they might research it on AI or on Google and go to your website and read an article. And they're like, man, these guys really know what they're talking about, but they're not ready to take an action. Then they come back, let's say a week later, they search for the type of company that does that, and bang, the click gets in and converts into whatever the conversion is.
Yep.
Now, how do you actually attribute that so the client understands, yes, you should be doing Facebook ads, yes, you should be doing SEO, and yes, you should be doing Google ads. It's not just one carrying the whole load. Like, how do you do that?
Just by having analytics set up and configured correctly,
right?
For all of the different platforms that you're using too. So each of these platforms will generally have their own script, tool, tracking system, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, Facebook will take all the claim.
Yeah,
Google will take all the claim.
They'll all want to say that they're responsible for the conversion.
The SEO company will say the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. But having your pixel installed and set up correctly, having your Google Analytics installed and set up correctly, having your events and conversions tracked properly, generally will allow you to then have that attribution done automatically and relatively accurately on its own. Mm-hmm. So Google Analytics will take the data and information that it gets from all of these tools, because a lot of them talk two ways.
Yep.
So your Facebook pixel will be talking to GA4 and they'll be sending data about users and conversions and all that sort of stuff to each other to share it. But generally, Google Analytics will do that sort of attribution. So it will say for every converted customer, whether the conversion was in a form submission or a contact or an inquiry or something like that, that'll be one full conversion. Mm-hmm. It will then break that up depending on how that user got to that point.
Yep.
In fractions, essentially. So it might say if someone saw an ad on Facebook for you, clicked on it and didn't convert from that stage, and then a week later, like you said, jumped on Google, found you, made that submission or that inquiry, generally, obviously it gets a little bit more complicated, but for explanation's sake, it might give 0.5 to Facebook and 0.5 to Google.
Cool.
So
right,
that's
so
something. Yeah. So sometimes when you jump in and have a look at your analytics, it might look a little bit strange because it's saying you've had 31.5 conversions or 31.7 conversions. Yeah. You wonder how someone could only convert by 0.7. It's generally going to be a conversion that's had some split attribution.
Some attribution. Cool. That's good. All right. So let's kind of look at, okay, if we found, if we got our analytics running, we find all of this, let's say your bounce rate's high or you've got a high exit rate on a checkout page. Walk us through how you would determine whether it's a UX problem, so it's a user experience problem, or if it's a technical issue, maybe a pricing issue or something else. How do you actually determine if someone's on it? Let's go with the checkout page example.
Yep.
How do you determine which one's the actual problem?
I guess the short answer is experience, but 99% of e-commerce sites these days will run one of two checkouts.
Mm-hmm.
They're all going to be fairly similar. But
Okay.
most of them are generally going to run either a Shopify style checkout or a WooCommerce style checkout that have really similar layouts. You can add different things to them, like different tools or different marketing or different remarketing or different upselling tools and all that sort of stuff that can impact your conversions and sometimes put people off. But the first things I will look at is what information gets introduced at this stage.
Okay.
For example, one that will generally be the culprit of a conversion killer at checkout stage, the shipping cost.
If you're not upfront with it.
Yep. So if we're getting to the point that the shipping cost is there and it's an expensive shipping cost, maybe not expensive for what it actually costs the retailer or the seller to do, but just expensive comparatively or
to the product. Let's say you're buying a $5 product, shipping's $20.
Exactly.
That's a killer.
Yeah. So having a look at the information that's getting introduced on that page, whether it's transaction fees or card processing fees or shipping or all that sort of stuff would be the first thing that I look at, because
I love that.
Been the culprit a lot of times.
Because the product page, you're making a buying decision on that product page. You're
100%.
not making the buying decision on the checkout page. That should just be, hey, the deal's done.
Yeah.
It's like you're saying, okay, the service, it's $1,000. You shake hands, then you get the invoice, and all of a sudden it's $2,000.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, there's delivery or there's this or whatever it might be.
Okay, that's really cool. I love that.
So I guess just sidetracked for a second, the more that you can be upfront about those sort of costs, or the more that you can have, if the best thing you can do on your product page is have a price that says including delivery or free delivery or whatever it is. That's the best thing you're going to be able to do. For
even your tax.
Anyway. Yep.
Include the GST.
Yep. Have it so that that's the final price, because you know it's not going to kill or drop off anywhere near as much than from someone making that commitment to actually giving you their money. But then other things that I would look at from a UX or a UI would be things like tools like Hotjar and all that sort of stuff, to see if there is something in particular on that on that checkout page that users are struggling with. Sometimes it can be, we've had in the past things where there's been like a terms and conditions that has to be accepted, and it's just because of the way that the page has been built. The client's gone away, customized it themselves over the space of a few months to add some things, and they've put a new tool in that's upselling something, and it's hidden the box that someone needs to be able to check to actually be able to check out.
Yeah.
So they're going in to test it thinking, I can get to the checkout page and I can put my card details in. They're not actually clicking pay because they don't want to run the process or run the charge. So they don't know that when you actually click pay, it says you haven't accepted the terms and conditions and things like that.
Can't find them.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's more of a technical thing.
Yeah, it can be technical. So that it can be either something that you've got control over, or sometimes it can be things that you may not have control over.
Yeah.
It might just be the fact that the pricing that you've got for something isn't as competitive as it needs to be. And a lot of people sometimes will... But people are getting more savvy with their shopping and things like that. Sometimes people will just add things to the cart to see what the final cost is going to be, or because you haven't been as upfront as you could be about it earlier on in the process. Yeah,
no, that's good. I like that. So I'll tell you one story for technical stuff. This is early on in my career. I think I was a one-man band then, but for some reason, we built it on WooCommerce. We built the site on WooCommerce, and for some reason, every sale that was supposed to go through was getting an error, and I was at my wit's end. And I think anyone trying to code with AI this day and age can probably sympathize with me, because you just tell AI to do something, you don't actually know what it's doing. So I was kind of free. I was using some outsources and stuff like that to put the site together.
Yep.
And it pained me, because I was like, they didn't even know what was going on. They couldn't solve it, the outsourcers. And then I had to pay a developer, a qualified developer. It was $1,500. He looked into it, And he's like, what's happening is that you've got these social icons on the checkout page and they're not secured. They're not under SSL. So it won't legally check out.
Yep.
So it's like, I think that's probably a takeaway for a lot of people using AI or just developers that don't know what they're doing and customizing. Like you said, they were customizing the checkout page. I love Shopify because you can't really do too much to the checkout page.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yep.
WordPress, WooCommerce, a little bit different.
Yeah. Shopify, you can still do it, but it's generally going to be restricted to things that you can do via an app that you're adding on to your stack.
Yeah.
And that app is going to have been vetted and approved by Shopify to work with their check. If it's something that's going to modify anything at the checkout, then you can bet your bottom dollar that Shopify has tested it and made sure that is not going to interfere or break anything in that process.
Yeah. So but it's a little thing. It was a little social icon.
Yep.
It was the bane of my existence.
Yep.
I think nearly wanted to throw it all in.
WooCommerce has actually got some safeguards around that sort of stuff now too, that would stop a lot of that from happening. But in saying that, there is still so much that you can do on WooCommerce to
stuff it
create
up.
Yourself some headaches. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, let's round this thing up.
Cool.
Let's say someone's had analytics installed. He or she didn't have to worry about any of this stuff, but now they're like at a level where, hey, I should probably pay attention to this. What's some of the things, if they wanted to act on this in the next few days, what are some of the things to pay attention to in analytics with data in there already?
I guess the key takeaways would be making sure you've got your conversion set up. Make sure, really, first step, decide and work out what the main 1 or 2 conversions are on your site.
Yep.
What are the things that are really going to matter and make a difference to you getting success from your website, having it work for you. Once you've worked out what those 2 things are, making sure that both of those are tracked as conversion events in GA4 or whatever you're using for analytics. Make sure they're tracked correctly, make sure that they're attributing correctly, all that sort of stuff. And then maybe let's give them 3 steps. So that's the first 2. Third one would be create a custom report in GA4 that just brings together the key things that you want to see.
Yeah.
Whatever they might be, out of all the stuff we've talked about, it's obviously going to be different for different businesses. But create a report that just gives you something where you can select a date range and it will show you the data for the conversion and the events that you've had for that date, for over that date range, and some key traffic points around like maybe how many unique visitors you've had, how much page engagement time they've spent, how much dwell time you've had, and some bounce rates. Or
I think what we talked about right at the beginning, it's how many people came to the site, how many people converted into an action, whatever that looks like for your side, whether it's e-com or something else, and how much money did you make? And then obviously you can split all those up, but those are the 3 key ones. All right, so give us this. What's the main GA4 or tracking mistake that you see that just drives you insane?
Events not set up correctly. Conversion events not set up correctly.
Give us some examples.
So it might be someone thinking that they're tracking a particular form submission because that's what GA4 says that it is. It's tracking form submissions. And people think their website's doing really well, but they haven't even done the most basic thing of looking at the fact that it's telling them that they're getting 150 submissions a day. But they're actually only getting 2 or 3 emails a week with submissions in it.
I've literally had reports come to us, so from other people where an agency is saying, look at all these conversions we're getting. We're getting such these conversions. And they're like, but we're not making any money. I'm not getting the calls. What's going on here? So I love that. It's not a good thing, but I love that you're pointing it out. So make sure you're actually tracking the right thing.
Yeah, make sure you're tracking the right thing. Check it for accuracy and all that sort of stuff. Don't take it at face value because GA4 told you that that's what it's tracking.
Yeah, it just sets it up automatically.
It's a great tool, but it is, to be honest, the bane of a lot of people's existence. It does take some time and patience to set it up properly, even for us where we work with it every day.
It can be complex.
Yeah, literally. We could probably jump into just about any of our clients' accounts and find something that could be improved or optimized better with GA4. Like, it's endless. But yeah, just the most painful thing is people using GA4 to make decisions for their business, but they're actually not even using accurate information or data.
Yeah. Make sure you get the accurate data
Yeah.
before you start making decisions. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Awesome. Hey, thank you so much for your time, Matthew. It's been great chatting. And hey, if you're looking for someone to help you with your analytics stack, with increasing your conversion rates or any kind of website work, obviously we'd love to help. If you're a good fit, give us a call, send through an email, or if you want more information like this, hit us up on YouTube or any of the other channels. We've got plenty of other videos like this. Thank you again. This
No
was
worries.
great, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you.